With the new 0.8.1 update, there is a completely new secret in the lobby in Phasmophobia. To start this riddle, we grab the UV flashlight on the floor and follow the arrow to the open area. In the open area, we find two sets of runes, one of 5 and one of 4. To solve the secret and find out what the runes mean, the first place we were going to go to was Camp Woodwind. I wanted to check the bathrooms. But sadly, that is where I found zilch, squat, nothing. So we moved quickly onwards into the grey tent, and there it was, the first sigil right in front of me in broad daylight. Well, nightlight. Peer out from a bedroom window onto a wall in fog above the basement reveals all. Well, that clue immediately led us to Willow Street House, where we went to look for the solution on a wall outside a bedroom window. The master bedroom seemed the most logical one, so that's where we're going first, and look at that. Armed with that information, we can now add that letter to the list. But before we left Willow Street House, we had to look for the next rune, and going over into the blue room, we immediately found this one. Feed me black stones and the fire will grow. In return, I will heat this snowed-in hell and home. Well, that was clearly the furnace in the back of Sunny Meadows. However, we had to make sure that it was snowing because that was what the riddle said. So using the new monkey pole, we made it snow and head straight into the kitchen. Walking into the furnace, the next solution immediately revealed itself. It was the letter P, and that's the next letter we could add to our list. After our great success getting to Sunny Meadows, it was time for us to tackle the next clue. And I wanted to check out Bleasdale. And that was my first mistake, because that was exactly where I figured out how big Bleasdale really is. I had to check every wall, every nook, every cranny, the lower floor, the upper floor, and of course, the attic. And after having checked through all of that, I could not find it. There was just no option left for me. I had to look outside. So I went to the front, I looked on the front wall, I looked on the banisters, I looked on the stairs, I looked everywhere. And that is when chat told me it is inside. So we went back in and still nothing. Nothing at all. I was ready to give up. I did not want to do this anymore. At this point, we were about 2.5 hours into the stream and I did the only thing I could think of. I started trying to think like a dev. What makes Bleasdale special? And that's when it struck me. Of course, it had to be the attic. So we went to the attic, and at this point, we had been here so long, the ghost started hunting. My sanity had drained far enough that 2 rounds of pills did not do anything. But when you have a revenant on your hands, there's really little else you can do except accept your fate. But I was determined. I wanted to try one more time. So we went to the attic, and every time it hunted, we had to hide, but we checked every box, every crate, every barrel, every bookcase, and still nothing. I was done. I was on my way out. I didn't care anymore, but then the ghost hunted, and I didn't want to lose my item, so I hid. During the hunt, I was convinced by the chat that I had to look one more time. And guess what? I go up the stairs, and it is staring me right in the face. Here it is. We finally found the clue. In light rain and snow, I never rest, defending fruit from my foes above. Bring me a light that keeps me warm. Again, there was only one singular place that makes sense, and it was the Farmhouse Brother Grafton Farmhouse, where in the back there is a scarecrow protecting Pumpkin. Taking a candle or lighter up to the scarecrow gives you the next solution. With 4 out of 9 runes now filled in, it was getting close to the end of the stream, and I had to really hurry this up. We went for Edgefield, where we immediately found it as soon as we stepped out of the truck. If you look on the far blockade, it is right on the horizontal beam. Down the stairs to a chair that rocks. I support the house above. Well, there's only one basement I know that has a rocking chair in it, and that is Tanglewood, so we were right off. Here it took me a little while, because I had to check every single one of the beams, and then I checked every single side. Turns out, it's not on a beam. It's actually on the roof of the basement, aka the floor of the kitchen, and that's where we found it. Let's make sure to add this one to the list, but we were not done in Tanglewood just yet. This is the starter map, the first map everybody does. I fully expected expected there to be another room to be found. It didn't take us long to find it, as it was hidden behind a door, emerging from a watery grey, quiet spot to watch the sunrise. What else could this be than Maple Lodge Campsite, where there's a camping chair that watches over the lake where Jason's mask comes floating up. However, we specifically want to watch the sunrise, so we had to make sure that the weather was correct for this one. Luckily, we spawned in with sunrise. Something finally went our way. We can now add 2 more runes to the mix, which means there's only 2 more left to go. But where were we going to find those? Seeing that we found one on every one of the small maps, there was only one more small map we could go to have a look. And so off we went. We were now officially 3.5 hours in, so I had half an hour to find both of these runes. And honestly, it wasn't looking bright. Especially when we figured out that the ghost was a demon. So it was just hunting and hunting and hunting. There was very little I could do, but we kept looking. With all the hunts going on, I'll be honest, I did not see this going well. Half an hour is not a lot of time, and Ridgeview is quite big if you're looking for everything on your own. I was so close to giving up. I looked on every wall, I looked at every corner, I even looked under every single desk, of which, by the way, there are 5 in Ridgeview. Eventually, we figured out the ghost room, we figured out the ghost, and even found the bone. Still, no rune in sight, no riddle in sight, not even an inkling. This was the toughest challenge I had undertaken in Phasmophobia in a very long time. After another 20 minutes of searching, 20 minutes, we finally did it. Right here on the front porch, in the smallest lettering you could ever imagine, in a place where hands must be seen at all times. I hide where water falls on command. Now, this immediately reminded me of the police, so we went down to prison. And in prison, you can actually see this text posted in the bathroom. So we went to the bathrooms and had a look. I was very lucky that people reminded me to check out all the walls and not just the outer walls, because on one of the inner walls, we find our next rune. Adding that rune completes one of our sets, but it seems like we have some unscrambling to do. Before we left prison, I realized that one of the runes was on Bleasdale, and there were no small maps left. So with the same thought pattern, what is the most recognizable place on prison where you can easily hide a rune? And I thought outside near the van, because that area is quite large. Having a look at the van, we immediately found the final clue. Exit the building where learning occurs to find the start of a maze outside. And we were off with only 3 minutes left, but we definitely had to hurry. Cue the music. Doesn't matter which door you exit, you will immediately be greeted with a breadcrumb maze, leading you from arrow to arrow to arrow. Following this maze all the way to the end leads you to the final rune. We did it! We finally completed both sets. It really didn't take us long to unscramble. It spells Point Hope, which I can only assume is the new map that's coming to Phasmophobia. I think it's gonna be a lighthouse map, but what do you think? Leave a comment down below and let me know. And as always, happy hunting.